day 3 of the preliminary trial for David Anthony Burke in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and there's a lot of things that we need to go over, but there's also some things that I need to get off my chest. I have been professional the entire time that I have covered this case, at least I've tried to be. And with hearing what we've heard today about her clothing and the maps and the way that she was carried around in this car for as long as she has made me have a very visceral, emotional reaction. And if you cannot handle something like that, I'm going to need you to go ahead and go, okay? We're going to talk about her clothes. And the way that I'm going to say this is going to make you angry, and that's okay. You can be angry with me. Her clothes tell a big story. It's not just about the puzzle pieces, about the exact place and placement of her body when she was chopped up. It's about the abuse that she was enduring. It shows that she was so used to his abuse, the tube top, the leggings, and the thong. She was used to, if she went to him, she knew what she was supposed to do. And I say supposed to do because she was being groomed. It shows the level of abuse that was happening to her. Here's my other thing. He put her in an Uber. What did he say to her to get her in the Uber? We know that she's being coerced. It's very clear. The age gap, the text messages, the contents, the CSAM, she's being coerced. Here's another uncomfortable truth of this situation. Children who are groomed lie. And they're not regular lies, okay? It's not a regular lie. It's not like, it's not a regular lie. They are lying to protect the perpetrator. Why are they lying to protect the perpetrator? Because the perpetrator has made them convinced that if they don't do what they're told to do by them, that something dangerous will happen to the person who's abusing them, that they have basically a bond with in fear. A child at 14 does not understand what love is, okay? If he's showering her with gifts and he's telling her that she's pretty and he's saying that I love you, she's going to believe it. No matter what her home life looks like, he's an older person that has a lot of money that she looks up to. He found her in the Discord server. They started chatting in the Discord server. She found him online. When you have a child that is undersupported and undersupervised and you give them unbridled internet access, this is where we end up. I want you, if you're a parent, please write that down. Let's go on to the Santa Barbara visits because it's very clear that she was his trophy. She was his trophy. He carted that little girl's body around after he had stabbed her and watched her bleed out that night for months. He took many, many trips to Santa Barbara, and that was confirmed from the Tesla information. It was also confirmed through camera footage. It was confirmed through everything that he was carting her around as if she was there and she was alive. What's so significant about Santa Barbara? That's what I need to know. Another thing I want to know is, when are they going to arrest Colleen? I said it. When are we arresting his mother? Bitchin', that's too far. It's not. Supposedly, allegedly, and speculatively, Colleen was the one that was overseeing all of his finances, and she had everything to do with his lawyers, and she had everything to do with all this stuff. When did they start moving the larger assets? Was it before her murder? How long before her murder? Was it after her murder? How long after her murder? Was this to protect the assets, or was this to protect David? Did he call his mom and say, I have a problem, and she said, don't worry, we'll fix it? There's a writ of habeas corpus that's still active right now. She was called into the grand jury. She refused. She hired a really big shot, high-paying lawyer for her son and for herself. When are we arresting her? When is she going to be looked into? Why isn't she a suspect? Here's another fucked up thing about his parents. Everybody wants to talk about her parents. Let's talk about his parents real quick. His parents wanted his money. The money means a lot to them, which is why all of a sudden Kova is making music. And Colleen is planning to have him, David, release music from prison. Why? Money's the biggest motivator. Money is the root of all evil. So Colleen and Dawad, you knew that Celeste Rivas Hernandez was his girlfriend. You were the one that was traveling with them too. I mean, they went to London. Weren't you present there? You were present in Texas when they came and saw you. Did you question her age, or did you already know? I believe that you probably already knew, which is why she ended up dead. Mom, I have a problem. That's okay, we'll fix it. He might have acted alone in the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, but he did not act alone within the premeditation, and that's obvious. There were so many adults around him, too. I mean, all of these music moguls, all of these people who were just so important and so powerful were in his ear. And there's even hot mics of them saying, are you still with that minor? And you're going to sit and you're going to look at me and you're going to tell me that this was all just David? Here's the other thing, too. We knew that he was into gore. You remember all the things that he said about gore? That it was used for private use. And Tommy also was a catalyst in this gore narrative. Almost as if he was manifesting all of this to happen. Because remember, Tommy is the one that's committing all the murders, but Tommy is him, and he's actually the investigator. And all of a sudden, he finds out that it's shut the fuck up, David. This small pea-brain little man who had to use his sister's closet because he's such a musical genius. Oh my goodness, everyone's just so fucking got over this guy who clearly wanted something that he could keep with him that would fulfill his fantasies. Here's the thing, too. When you look at different serial killers or spree killers that actually keep body parts or keep the body with them, instead of attempting to dispose of the body, there's usually an underlying reason, and it's usually this word right here. If you look at all of the serial killers ever, it's usually for this purpose right here. And they use these tools and these things that they have at their disposal for themselves for very disgusting purposes. But we'll never know, because her body was so badly decomposed and so badly damaged that there was no way to be able to tell anything that was on her body. He cut her fingers off. He had her name was tattooed on him. Here's the thing, too. There's a system in place in our society, okay? It has a top and it has a bottom. And in between the top and bottom, there's all these little itty-bitty cracks and fissures. The top is when you start to notice that there's a problem. And the bottom is when the problem doesn't get intervened with. And all these little cracks, these are statistics. How likely you are to use drugs and alcohol, how likely you are to go to prison, how likely you are to die of an overdose, how likely you are to be murdered, how likely you are to commit suicide. All these tiny little cracks. If a school, if a truancy officer, if a parent, if a guidance counselor, if a police officer, if all these people don't step in and do something, guess what happens? You get Celeste Rivas Hernandez. One last thing before I let you go. Celeste Rivas Hernandez is a very sad and tragic case. I care very, 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 very much about Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I want you to please remember that the only reason you're hearing so much about this is because there was a musician involved. This is happening less than half of a mile away from you. It could be happening in your own neighborhood. It happens in trailer parks, apartment complexes, suburbs. It happens in churches. It happens in daycares. It happens in schools. This kind of shit right here happens all the time, and nobody's really doing anything, and there's femicide. And no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about the structural importance of things like this. They don't want to recognize that there are cracks that kids can fall through, and it's almost fucking intentional. It is almost fucking intentional. I understand that her parents are just absolutely besides themselves. They're hearing all this stuff for the first time. They are wailing. They are besides themselves. Absolutely. They should be. It should be shocking. It should be disheartening. They shouldn't be sitting here having lunch and being fine. They're going to be upset. I need you to remember that they said that they had work and lives that they had to get back to. Totally get that. Here's the thing about a kid like Celeste Rivas Hernandez. If they're going to lie and they're being abused and they're having all these things happen to them and they're being coerced, they're going to become what would be labeled as unruly. This makes it harder for a system to actually help a child. If they are lying about what is happening to them, then they're not going to have the help come to them, and it's going to be too late. And it's happening more and more and more and more because it's happening on the internet. And I'm not trying to take away from Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I'm not trying to take away from the pain of her family. I'm not trying to do that. But what I'm trying to really paint a picture to you of is the fact that it is tragic and it is not uncommon. The way her body was found, probably, maybe so, yes. The way that he's a musician and had a lot of money and power, yes. But kids, this happens a lot more than society is willing to admit. Because to admit that you have failed your children in your own society means that you have failed your society in general. I'll be back at it in the morning. I hope that you have a beautiful day. Please stay blessed, stay happy, stay safe, stay full. Please, for the love of God, remember not to shit your pants. And I really hope that this little girl gets justice. And I hope that no other little girl has to go through this. I hope that there's a day where I wake up and there's not another little girl that's been groomed and harassed and assaulted and murdered. And I don't know when that will be, but I hope it's very, very soon. If you like content like this, you want to tell me to go fuck myself, hit all the buttons. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.